Hey, you guys, welcome to today's video. I'm so excited because Jamie Ivey is here.
Hi, Rachel.
Jamie, thanks for being here.
So glad to be here.
Okay, so if you're not familiar with her, you're probably like living under a rock because her podcast, it's like always in the top, 1, 2 slots?
You're nice. Thank you.
It's always there. And
Thank
you always
you so
have
much.
great guests and
Thank
all of
you.
it.
I enjoy it.
Okay, so you're in Texas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Austin. Yes.
With babies. Well, they're not babies.
They're not
kids.
babies.
I say babies. I mean, they're still your babies.
They're big. My son is about to get his driver's license. So that's where we are. So I have 16, 15, 14, 12.
So
New
crazy.
world. You're going to love it.
I think so, because they can like dress themselves.
They can dress themselves. They can feed themselves.
Yes.
They can put themselves to bed. They can survive without you, basically.
That's a good feeling. That's a good feeling for
Yeah.
sure. But you have such, I think through your podcast and through all the content you do, you just always bring such light to things in our world. And so one of the things that I love is that you talk about creating a life that you love where you are.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your story, kind of how you got there.
Yeah, I think that I've experienced what a lot of people have experienced as especially a woman who's married and a woman who has children. So if you're one of those, then you might understand what I'm about to say. There were the seasons in my life where I was at home with kids, and I remember just thinking like, is this it? Like, is this what I'm going to be doing? And the truth of the matter is, yes, that was it. And it took me a while to truly believe that that was it, and it mattered, and it was still good. And so I had to learn that the hard way. A lot of tears, a lot of wishing for someone else's life instead of looking at the life that God had me in right at that moment. But I've had to really focus in and learn and think, okay, how am I going to be faithful and fruitful right where I am? And so that's kind of what I've been learning.
I love it. So good. Because, and the seasonal, that word is so huge.
Yes.
Because it changes so often, and your desires change, your heart changes, your stage of life changes, your kids are changing. I mean, there's so much, and it can be really hard not to compare yourself, like you said, to everyone else. And I talk about comparison. We talk about it so much here on the show because it's such a huge part of the money factor that people end up in such debt to keep up a lifestyle that they think everyone has, right? But the heart issue is huge. So you talk a lot about that as well, and not to play that comparison game.
Yeah, and I think when we're comparing each other's quote-unquote seasons like we're going to use, but they don't look different. I mean, if we're going to just talk about seasons in general, fall in Texas looks a little different than fall in the Northeast. Yes. You know what I mean? And so same season, same time of year, very different atmosphere. And so I think the trouble also comes when you're looking at someone who either you think you're supposed to be in that season or life is supposed to look like that and it doesn't, then you start to think, there must be something wrong with me. And then you start to compare. Their life seems better because they're where they're supposed to be, and mine must not be as good. And I think that's a lie that we have to combat as women, especially, to look around and, I mean, I have so many things, like to cheer each other on, to be for each other, but to also look around and go, what she's doing is not exactly where I have to be at this moment.
There's so much truth in that because it is so exhausting. 'Cause I've done it.
Yeah, me too.
And you see someone else doing something, you're like, oh man, like look at their gifting. And then when you try to do that, you're like, that's not how God created me.
Right.
He did not create me like that.
Yes.
And thank God, right? Like, and that's when I feel like you have to almost be selfish in a healthy way of looking at yourself to be like, okay, what are the gifts? What do I have to offer? What is it in my life that God's calling me to in this season?
Yes.
So finding happiness where you're at is so key to so much. Now, when it comes to like the money parts, I see people all the time. I mean, they change their whole life. Like when they find contentment, they're willing to sacrifice to get out of debt. They're willing to do things in their life to change it completely. And that's such the opposite of like the American dream. Like when you pull back. So do you ever see that? Like I know you don't speak about money all the time.
No, but it's true.
When you interact with people, I'm just curious, when people find happiness where they're at, do you see their spending habits change?
Well, I think that they would for sure. I've seen it myself. And I see it that when I'm not constantly yearning to be somebody that I'm not, because sometimes that takes money to be somebody that you're not.
Yes.
I need a new car. I need new clothes. I need all of these things because that's what she's doing. So I need that. So I found that when I'm more content with who I am and how God's gifted me, then I'm like, I don't have to have that to be successful, even though she has it. And the truth is, I don't even know how she has it. Maybe she makes a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
And
Amen.
so that's fine if she has it. So it's this line of like, I don't care if you have that. But if I'm desiring that just so I can be like you, I think that really affects our money. And so not doing that is going to help you save more money.
Yes, and that's like the difference between, I heard, jealousy and envy.
Yeah.
Is jealousy is like, oh, I want what you have. Envy is, I want what you have and I don't want you to have it. So that
hurts me.
That envious spirit is like, it's a good checkpoint to think through when you see people having stuff.
Yeah.
As a mom, every day I take precautions to give my family peace of mind. It's simple things like locking the front door, making sure the car seats are buckled in, and putting my phone away when I'm driving. But we don't always think about the bigger things, like what if something happened to you or your spouse? That's why you need term life insurance. It makes sure your family's taken care of no matter what happens. I trust Zander Insurance. They keep my family protected, and that gives me such peace of mind. They make things super simple and find the best options and prices. To learn more, call Zander today or go to Zander.com. Make sure your family has the term life insurance they need. So what other ways do you feel like, really climbing out of that comparison trap? Because again, I talk about it on like the money side and how to find that contentment in your heart. But I think the life, your life and comparing others, it's just still so huge.
One thing that's been really helpful for me is that I found is that when I am really for somebody and I'm cheering them on, it's really hard for me to be jealous of them. When I think professionally and I see someone who their career is just taking off and they are killing it, when I can be a friend to them and be genuinely excited for them, that kills the jealousy in my heart, because I cannot be for someone, cheering for them, and want their life and be jealous for them at the same time. They can't coexist.
Yeah, and I think for women too, I'm like, that whole statement, what you just said, that's within parenting, that's within marriage, like you're saying, or if you're single, career, all of it, like it is. But there's a level of security that you have to feel within yourself to even be able to do that. So have you, because you wrote a new book called You Be You, which I want to talk about, but like what work did you do to find that security in who you are and that identity, which is huge, because you have to get that first.
Yes.
Then to be able to overflow and say, yep, I can cheer you on, because I really, really am genuinely content and believe that I am where I'm supposed to be for a reason.
So I kind of got thrown into this world of podcasting and speaking and writing. A lot of my friends were already doing that. And so there was a lot of insecurity that I brought to the table because I didn't know what to do. And I found out really quickly that I can't be them, because I would try and I would get off the stage and feel like a failure, a fake, a fraud. And I had to come to the conclusion that if anybody wants me to do anything, if they want to listen to my podcast, if they want to watch me on YouTube, if they want to read my books, they actually want me. And so I had to put to death a lot of ideas of what I should be like because my other friends were successful in what they were doing. That concept and idea, I wish that happened overnight, but that was a battle over years of me trying to figure out, what is my voice? Where can I use it to be the best? And you know what, Rachel? Like, I look back and I didn't get a voice when I started having a public platform. Like, I've had the same voice my whole life. I was influencing my children in the home. I used to teach 5th grade Sunday school. I was influencing those. I was a teacher. I volunteered at the county jail. So voices don't just happen for people on stages or people with microphones.
That's right. Yep.
Everybody has a voice and has influence right where they are. And I think the sooner we can figure that out, the sooner we can really trust God and be satisfied with where He's put us.
That is such truth, because I've even said just recently, probably over like the last 2 years, I've realized just within my work, right? And I think this is a unique place to be for me too, right? For years starting this, I was like, okay, what do people want? Because they expect Dave Ramsey.
Yes.
As my dad, right? And I'm like, so you kind of craft and figure out, okay, well, he does this and this. Yeah. And then over time, I'm like, no, I'm not a bald 60-year-old man.
Not Dave
that is
Ramsey.
not me. That is not my personality.
Yeah.
Like, there's parts of him that are great. I love it.
Yeah.
But that's no. Yeah. So, like, it was weird comparing myself to a
your dad.
man.
And your dad.
Which is bizarre. Yes. But then going through that journey, and it's a journey. And then realizing, it probably hit me about 2 or 3 years ago, where I was like, I leave work energized. Because I realized I don't have to work to be someone else. And there is such life in that. And like you're saying, it's not that you have to do that, if you have a camera in your face all the time. But if you live your life, even as a stay-at-home mom, when you go to play dates with kids, if you're leaving there exhausted because you're trying to be someone else, like, it's not good for them.
Oh, no.
And it's not good for you.
No.
So
I'll give you a practical example. You know when people, they have meal calendars, like they have a baby or whatever?
Yes.
I used to always sign up for them because here's what I thought. I am a woman. I don't know why that made me think I need to sign up for it. I'm a Christian, so maybe I should serve people. My husband's a pastor. So I'd be like, okay, I'll bring a meal. I would be anxious because I don't cook.
Jamie, we're the same person. I give gift cards to women. I'm like, you go get you some delivery dudes.
Yes.
You take out whatever you want. I'll pay for it.
I don't cook, but I would sign up and then I would be in the kitchen and my husband would come home and he's the one that cooks. And so he'd come home and be like, what are you doing? I'm like, had a baby, I'm taking them a meal. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. Can you please help me? And then he's mad because he's now having to cook meal for somebody else. I'm anxious. And then I show up at their house with this meal that no one should eat. And I am a wreck. And so I had to learn, literally, I will never be that woman at your church who brings your homemade meal. It's just not what I do. There's other things I can do. I can send you a gift card. I can pray for you. I can do lots of other things. I can't do that. And it's small things like that that I think that seems insignificant, but that was actually really major for me. To realize I don't have to fill in what I think I'm supposed to do because I'm a woman Christian pastor's wife. I just don't have to do that because that's not what I'm good at.
Did you have people in your life that helped you along the way in that? Because I think that's a big, I mean, not just the meal thing, but that undercurrent, I think specifically as a woman, you get in these sectors of culture and those demands or those labels are so heavy on you. And so I know I have a few girlfriends and I feel like we just have a great relationship where they know everything, I know everything about them, and we can kind of just level with each other and we have the same value system, which helps. But for the woman that's listening that may not have that, how do you recommend her kind of walking out of that? Because, man, those labels and the expectation of what you should be is so heavy.
It's so heavy. I think one of the things is trying to maybe sit down and do this little pros and cons type thing. Like, what are the things I think I should be? And then what are actual non-negotiables? Like, I have to be a nice person. You know what I mean? Like,
I need to be kind.
I need to be kind. But kindness doesn't equal a casserole. That's what I had to figure out. You know, like it doesn't, people will say being kind equals this, this, and this. And I had to come to the realization of being kind equals I'm kind in the ways that best serve me. And that's been so good for me to be like, okay, I'm not going to choose to live in guilt or shame. My husband helps me with that, is that he's not putting these, here's what you should be doing. He's like, I know, I see your gifts. Live in them. And so that has been helpful for me. And then just those girlfriends too, that can know when I'm trying to be me or when I'm trying to become someone else. Yep. And they're like, I'm not having any of that. You need to not do that because I don't know, that doesn't even sound like you, Jamie. What are you doing? Yes. And so having those girlfriends to come alongside has been really helpful.
Yes, but the community. And so finding that, like if you need that in your life, it's so important. I'm like, we're not created to walk alone.
Right.
And when you're tackling subjects like this, that is a lot. It's a lot. Yeah. But man, having those people to speak into your life is so massive. Yeah. Okay, so part of your book is called On Becoming You. And I love this because you say, who am I becoming instead of being consumed with what I am doing?
Yeah.
So versus what you're doing is one thing, and it's celebrated so much in our culture today, like what you're doing. Oh, you're doing this and this and this. Yeah. But who am I becoming is like the inner work.
Yes.
So kind of talk me through that.
That chapter was birthed. I was having a conversation with a friend, and she was, in my eyes, she was killing it. She was writing great material for our church. She was involved in a bunch of different ministries. I mean, I would look at her and think, you are just doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And she quit. And I was like, what happened? And she said, I looked in the mirror and I didn't like who I was becoming. And I said, what do you mean? She goes, I was just working. And I was doing so many good things, but I wasn't becoming a better follower of Jesus. I wasn't becoming more in love with him. And that stuck with me. And it made me think, okay, what about my life? Am I just concerned with what I'm doing? Because we can get to the end of our life. I mean, we all know this. You can get to the end. You're on your deathbed and you have a lot of accolades. You have accomplished a lot. You have done a lot. People would look at you and go, that is a successful woman. But what if deep in your heart you realized, I'm miserable. I'm unhappy. I don't have real close relationships because all I did was either work or parent or be a wife, whatever, fill in the blank. I don't have close relationships. I don't love Jesus any more than I did when I was 40. I mean, that scares me. Yeah. I do not want to get there. And so I think something that I've had to do and that I talk about in the book is to focus more on what is happening on the inside because people just see the outside.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I can see all the amazing things Rachel Cruze is doing. But who you're becoming, that is between you and the Lord. And honestly, I also think that is what's going to rise up when we get into like tough situations. Doing is great. You love your job. I love my job. But when all of our jobs get canceled,
who are you?
Who are you?
Yes. Amen, sister.
And so I'm learning.
Yes.
I'm fighting that because that's hard. Mm-hmm. It's really hard.
And your identity, and again, we're in unique careers because it's public facing,
right.
But that identity can be in
everything.
Any room mom, right? I mean, like seriously, like it is such a big thing. And I've always said that, gosh, about so much of my life. My career is probably the number one in my head when I say this because it's the most probably out there. And that's a healthy checkpoint.
It is.
And it is. And like, it's like, man, there's such power in the character and what is going on in you. So you be you.
You be you.
Right, Jamie? Yes. Okay, your new book.
Yes.
You Be You. I love the title.
Thank
when I read
you.
that, I was like, yes, it's so good.
Thank you.
Okay, where can people pick it up?
Anywhere you buy books. JamieIvey.com is my webpage. You can find everything there. And I hang it on Instagram a lot, so I like Instagram.
I do too,
But you can get it wherever you get books.
Yeah, and your podcast?
Podcast, The Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey. Super fun. I'm glad you listened.
I do. I love it.
It's so fun. I love it so
such a great
much.
podcast.
So,
Well,
yeah.
you're doing incredible
Thank
work.
you.
Jamie, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And I'm so excited for the new book.
Thanks, Rachel.
Can't wait.